Hi, everyone. This is Jay from ChainSafe Gaming, and we're here with another stream with HyperPlay and CoinRacer. For those who are unfamiliar with ChainSafe, we're a research and development firm focused on protocol level research. We've helped write the code behind Avalanche C Chain and Filecoin Virtual Machine. We also help move Ethereum from proof of work to proof of stake. And we offer a few development tools, including Web3.js for web development and a Web3 Unity SDK for Unity games. With that said, we'll be talking on our stream today about HyperPlay, their integration with our SDK, and we'll be speaking to CoinRacer about their experience as a game studio onboarding to these platforms. Now I'd like to introduce our guests here so that they can introduce themselves and talk about their projects. Hello.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Thank you both for joining us. So let's start first with Jacob. Can you introduce yourself and the project that you're working on?
Sure. Hi, I'm Jacob. I'm founder of HyperPlay. We are a Web3 native game store, and we're an aggregator of game stores as well. So we have our own store, which is the HyperPlay store. We also aggregate the Epic Game Store. We pass the player's wallet from our desktop application into every game that you launch from inside of HyperPlay. That includes both native games or browser-based games. We also power the new MetaMask games directory, which just launched in MetaMask a little over a week ago. So games which are in our store also aggregate up to the MetaMask wallet. You can see this games directory if you open up your portfolio view inside of MetaMask right now. And we're also launching some really awesome stuff related to questing and in-game achievements, and we'll have more to share about that very soon.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jacob. I've seen HyperPlay. I've played with the store itself. I didn't know you actually aggregate other stores, including Epic. I've seen that announcement, so that's great to hear. And there's people online who are pleasantly surprised with the MetaMask portfolio piece. I tuned into that as well. It looks awesome.
Thank you.
And Melanie, can you introduce yourself and your project?
Yes, absolutely. I am Melanie D, also known in the space as Croissant. I am one of the co-owners now of CoinRacer. They are a low poly racing game, and we are very, very excited to be listed on HyperPlay. We are, we love HyperPlay and everything that they're doing, and we can't wait to tell you why.
Awesome. Thanks for that intro. I can't wait to start playing CoinRacer. All right, so let's get into the first question. Where did the inspiration for your project come from? Let's start with Melanie.
Yeah, absolutely. So CoinRacer is actually a racing game many people are aware of because it's been around since 2021. It was originally launched by two young entrepreneurs from Estonia. And they approached myself and my business partner at the time for marketing and advisory, to assist with their launch. And it was really exciting for us because this came at a time when they wanted to build a skill-based racing game when, back then everything was, either trading card games or just click to earn. There wasn't anything skill-based. So we were really excited about the idea. We love what they were doing. So went live, everything was really exciting. Built a huge community predominantly in South America and Southeast Asia. And everything was going really well. And then we did encounter a few development errors, timeline delays and stuff. And that, the community was, there was unrest. And then there was the bear market. And we were a little green around the gills ourselves as well. We were warning everybody about Axie Infinity being a Ponzi, but we were just as bad. We had NFT staking, which ended up draining the token. So we had some things to learn as well. Yeah. It was pretty cool. We had these little tracks, and the cars could run around on the tracks all day, and they were just earning you tokens, but that was, obviously a drain on the token. So without the upward growth to sustain it, it did come down, and we had to go kind of back to the drawing board. But it was really respectful. These young entrepreneurs, they didn't want to abandon the community at all that they had built. So instead, they just went back to the drawing board and they rebuilt the game. And we spent 8 months with the data scientists rebuilding the game, making sure that we could build something truly sustainable, a circular economy, something that we could, bring the community back for. So we did that and we relaunched, and things have been going really well. The game is looking amazing. We've released a whole new game, which we're really proud of. We currently have 2 game modes that are live. You can do track racing, or you can do destruction derby, which is where a bunch of cars go in and you smash each other up and parts go flying. There's tires, there's windshield shattering, and the last car standing wins. Everybody loves that. So we've been implementing more and more. We have more game modes to come. We have practice mode as well that's live, for those that want to practice. And you can do oil changes. It's a car enthusiasts racing game. We're all car enthusiasts. Myself and my partner and one of the other now owners. We purchased the game from the original owners last fall, so we are now owners. And 2 of us are also old street racers, I suppose. I had a Camaro in high school. Like I know how to press the gas.
I want to hear stories about this.
Yes. So that's Coin Racer. We have a really cool game. We're building out a whole racing metaverse coming, but it's a really fun game and a sustainable one, which we're proud of.
That's awesome to hear your journey from, starting in 2021. That's when I first got into NFTs. So there was a lot of experimentation, especially with games. I know all the kind of games you're talking about. A lot of it was really glorified gambling. So it's great to see that was the inspiration. You needed something skill-based. We needed something new. And of course, there's bumps in the road, but glad to see that you kind of made it over that. And now you're thriving.
Yeah.
And Jacob, what was the inspiration behind HyperPlay?
Yeah, so funny story. I'll go way back to the founding of both of our projects because actually they're related to each other. So back in really the beginning of 2022, gaming. So my background is I was lead of operations at MetaMask. And so I had done a lot on the growth model, the monetization, the extensibility strategy for MetaMask. And I had noticed that, and I'm a lifelong gamer, so I'm already biased towards gaming, but I had noticed that, especially during that year, more than half of the users of MetaMask had a gaming use case in their history. And that was right around the time when MetaMask hit 30 million monthly active users for the first time. It was a huge milestone for our ecosystem. And I had seen that there were millions and millions of people who were starting by playing games, but then from initially onboarding into the decentralized web through gaming, they were then discovering DeFi and being able to basically leapfrog over the legacy financial system and become owners of the protocols that were running the future of the internet, that were running a new future financial system that was owned and empowering everyone. And I was really deeply inspired by that. And it gave me a thesis that gaming would serve as the bridge to the decentralized web, that gaming would be the accelerant by which we would reach much broader spectrums of people. And then, so I was a judge at ETH Denver, and my favorite project that I ended up voting for was done by a very wonderful human called Leon Doe, who was the founder of ChainSafe Gaming. And he and I became really good friends. And then he helped me found HyperPlay, actually, and he's strategic advisor for us today. And but we really wanted together to improve the user experience around Web3 gaming, because here you had so many millions of people that were playing Web3 games, and especially in 2022, the user experience was really bad, and that's putting it lightly. So it really started with looking at the user experience and the user interaction between the wallet and the game. It wasn't possible for players to carry their existing wallet into the games that they were playing. And so you really had 3 really bad silos that were all a compromise. So the first of those was people would make a browser game that would have, it would have performance compromises. A lot of players wouldn't see browser games as real games, but the browser game can easily connect to the MetaMask browser extension. It's easy to get liquidity into these. And so for some games that worked well, then you had games that were native, but they had no transactions in the game. And so all of the Web3 components were moved into separate website dApps outside of the game. And then the third compromise that we saw was people were putting proprietary embedded wallets inside of their game. And then the player needed to transfer their funds away from their primary wallet to another wallet. They didn't know, will I be able to get the funds out of that wallet? Then once they have NFTs or things that they've earned in the game, how do they get those out of that wallet and use them in the decentralized web? And it was just a really, really bad user experience that was effectively killing the value propositions of what Web3 is supposed to do. It's supposed to be about interoperability. It's supposed to be about carry your assets from one game to another, carry your assets from one game to a marketplace, carry your reputation with you across the decentralized web. And that, to me, that's what it was supposed to be about. And here we had this wallet problem that was killing all of the projects in the ecosystem. And so I started working on a way to allow the player to carry their wallet into the games themselves. And so Leon and I, the previous founder of ChainSafe Gaming, worked on a concept of a wallet overlay that would work similarly to how Steam works. So Steam creates a graphical layer on top of games, and it has achievements, it has chat windows, it has notifications. And so why don't we take that tech and use that to display the user's wallet and then surface APIs to the game where the game can call a transaction to whatever wallet that the player has selected inside of our desktop app. And so this allowed not only, we started solving the wallet to game interaction problem. And then we started hearing from game developers like, this is really great, but every game store I go to is going to deplatform me for building in this way. So then we were like, okay, well, we have to rebuild the whole distribution stack, and we have to create a new type of business model for game developers where they're not being deplatformed for building in a Web3 way. And like the other aspect of how we thought about this was like Steam and even the Epic Game Store, which we aggregate and we love the Epic Game Store, but these businesses are based on taking transaction fees from the in-game transactions of games. And they don't have a way to capture the transaction from a smart contract. That's not how blockchains work. And so we realized that there had to be a completely different business model. And so we created a business model where we don't charge anything to game developers. Instead, we have optional transactional features in our app that users are free to use or not use. And that created a consensual business model that aligned the interests of the distribution platform with the interests of the game developers. And so we've created the most developer loyal game distribution stack. And we started rebuilding everything. And then we got to HyperPlay. And then
that's super interesting. There are a ton of cool things that you touched on. First, I like the conversation you kind of brought up about finding this data in MetaMask, seeing that people are entering through games, because a lot of us have this as a thesis that this is going to be the next way to bring people into Web3, right? It's through the game. But you've seen the actual data behind it to support that, whereas most of us are just saying, this is the cool way to get in. We don't have the data a lot of times behind that. So that's great to hear that you have the proof there. The next thing is the game stores. I've seen this from games that we're working with. You can tell me, Melanie, if you had trouble initially listing on different platforms, but I know like Epic was the first one to launch, and then iOS is still kicking people out. Android's still not really allowing people to do certain things. I'm curious, Melanie, if you have some of kind of background with other launchers or other stores, what was that like?
Yeah, absolutely. They all have, and it's been also a development over several years as well, where we've seen different things, different regulations come into play. It was only about a year and a half ago that Apple actually changed some of their policies, making it even more difficult or, maybe even undesirable to be listed there. For example, they, wanting to take 30% of all NFT related sales and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of regulation that you need to kind of navigate with all of these listings, but you are absolutely correct that listing with HyperPlay was by far an extremely straightforward, fluid process. We absolutely sing the praises of this team. And sort of more importantly, this is my favorite thing about HyperPlay, and what the number one thing that I always want someone to know is that they audit all of the code. So there is some levels of safety when you're listed on these different types of stores, Apple in particular. But with the Web3 space, if you have a game, a lot of times what you do is you build your own launcher and you just you pop it on your website so that they can download their game directly from your website. But that's not really a culture that we like to see in the Web3 space, because it does obviously leave the door open for scammers. So one of the things that we just truly love about HyperPlay is that they audit all of the code. But then in addition to that, they actually go above and beyond and they audit every single code update as well. So this is a platform that we could really stand behind to say, like being on here is sort of, the social proof based on, the technology backing it, that this is a safe game to play. So in addition to just, having a really great onboarding method and a great team backing us up all the time, extremely responsive. That's not something that you actually see too much in the space. This is truly a high quality team that, made sure that our listings are live and everything's updated correctly. And, when we have special updates, like, oh, we're trying to get a tournament live, we need to share update, they'll actually respond to you. They're not just, corporate figures off there. Great team, very easy process, but tech that backs up this platform as opposed to others to make it, and there's more to it as well. And Jacob can touch on the ability to upload a PC build and then you can download for a Mac, or, there's a lot of other tech in there that assists with getting onto some of these other platforms as well. That on the developer end, if you have to build for PC and then build for Mac, like it takes a significant amount of time. So HyperPlay actually streamlines that process as well, where it's not just listing on HyperPlay, it's also getting your build available for different types of platforms.
That's awesome to hear, especially on the consumer side. I test a lot of games. Sometimes I get weird files, and even my own team is like, I'm not downloading that. We have to figure out some other way around this. So I was really happy to hear that HyperPlay audits all the code. Now I feel comfortable. There's a store there. You can browse through tons of different games. I feel comfortable downloading stuff to my PC. So awesome process there.
Yeah, we definitely consider ourselves first and foremost a security product. So we are, to give a little more detail, we're doing forensic audits on every game build. And it's also it's a view of attestations because we have multiple stores. So every store is essentially providing its own set of attestations that these are games that we've audited. Epic has theirs, GOG has theirs. We have our own. We have other stores that will come in the future. And so we think that actually creates a competitive market between the game stores that moves the economics of gaming in favor of the game developer over the platform. And then, to the other point, I didn't mention this in our intro, but we actually make it possible to run Windows native games on Mac or Windows native games on Linux or on Steam Deck. And we actually, this idea originates from Steam themselves. They wrote compatibility libraries to make Windows games run on Linux because they had disputes with Microsoft. Microsoft was essentially deplatforming them in various ways. They needed to make it possible to take the vast library of games and make them executable on Linux. And we have a similar situation with Apple today, or Mac, and there's so many Mac gamers, but they can't play games because Apple's chosen to have these very proprietary APIs that game developers don't want to support. The distribution platforms like Steam have no incentive to actually support Mac gamers. And so we've brought together a number of different libraries that are available on the market, but are fragmented and mainly were distributed to developers for the purpose of porting games. And so instead, we took those tools, we built them into our desktop application, and we made the games launchable on Mac OS, Windows games, or browser games, but everybody can do that.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear. Definitely makes it a lot more seamless. Porting over kind of sucks on our end. So it's great that you've come up with a solution for that. And now I'm curious, for the games that are looking into this to HyperPlay, they want to get started. What are you looking for during this process when they're submitting? What are you looking out for?
So we do developer verification, and also like interviews of developers when they come on the platform for those games that are in our store. Obviously, there's other stores as well. And like we would love to support, for example, itch.io, which is a completely permissionless store. Because we both want to be a permissionless platform that empowers all developers to be able to get access to the user. And then we want to have our store, which is our flagship and is a safe place for players and for developers. So we really love really innovative teams that are building on the cutting edge, and like that's one of the great reasons that we love the CoinRacer team is they're so forward thinking about about user interactions, about questing, about like all of those things. We're really culturally aligned and are really big believers in their game. And we look for the same in almost, anytime we talk to developers, like we're prioritizing most those teams that are building in Web3 native ways, and that the teams that really believe in this technology and the future of it. I mean, we have some teams that I believe in the near future will even do cross campaigns between games where the assets of one game are being used in the other. And we are like, that was a pipe dream that like was a ideological thing that Web3 people talked about until until our wallet overlay existed. Nobody really was doing that. It existed in some of the browser games. There were a small number of things like Gods Unchained let you have crypto kitties that like crawled around on the board of your TCG, which was kind of weird. I don't know why you do that, but it was like cool. I like that they did it. And then there were games like DeFi Kingdoms, which had, I think they have a dozen now third-party games that are built on top of their smart contracts, where you can expend stamina points and earn experience points by playing a range of different games that are all connected to their NFT smart contracts. And so, I mean, that was the kind of stuff we really believed in and really wanted to empower. And we want this tech to do like gameplay experiences for players that couldn't exist without this. Like secondary markets and making money from NFTs, like that's great. It's the starting point. Like that's probably the least interesting thing that this tech is going to enable in the long run. And so we're a very tech forward and team that's trying to focus on that.
It's awesome to hear that you're interviewing the teams, you're auditing code so that everyone who does play these games knows that it's trustworthy. As far as like the onboarding process, studios are coming to you, reaching out. And the thing that I'm most excited about working together with ChainSafe's SDK and with you is that we're working on a way for them to publish directly from the SDK onto the HyperPlay store. So look out for that. You can find it on GitHub. You can see the comments and stuff. We're actively working on that. So I'm excited for that process.
Awesome. I'd love to talk more about what we did together on the SDK as well, if you want to jump to that.
Yeah, sure. If you want to jump into.
I don't mean to disrupt your.
No, it's cool. You can jump into it now if you'd like.
Sure. So, I mean, part of what we did together was, the ChainSafe Gaming SDK can now, out of the box and essentially a no-code solution for the game developer can call wallet interactions directly inside of a game project. So a lot of times, interacting with the wallet through HyperPlay, it's fairly easy. Like you have to write a little bit of custom code, and we have examples in our developer docs for Unity and for the Unreal Engine. But with the ChainSafe Gaming SDK, you just have a turnkey solution with a range of different Web3 interactions, and you can really easily call the player's connected wallet. And so if you're a game project that's already using the ChainSafe Gaming SDK, you can essentially your project can call the player's connected wallet, or just almost no effort. And it's also important from a liquidity perspective. So like maybe you already have some other wallet solution, but the vast majority of tokens and assets that are in this ecosystem are in MetaMask wallets. And allowing the user to use their primary hot wallet, or even their hardware wallet through MetaMask, and to bring those funds into your game's economy is a really important step for bootstrapping the economy of a Web3 game. And so I'm really really excited to have that available and to simplify the development experience. And I'm really grateful for you guys working together with us on that.
We're definitely excited as well. Beyond that, you mentioned like quests and stuff. So there's a lot of cool things that you're building, and now we can easily plug in games into that system. So it'll be interesting to see how it develops. Now we touched on kind of onboarding, what the experience is like for game developers, but I want to know, what is the impact? So can you tell us, Melanie, what was the impact of getting onto HyperPlay? What does this mean for games?
So because of y'all's integration with the MetaMask, it was really exciting. We just went live on MetaMask in addition. So this was a tough secret to keep for many, many months, because we knew it was coming. I was kind of itchy. I really wanted to tell people, but we didn't. But it's now announced. And so when you actually go to MetaMask, for anybody watching this, if you're on a desktop, you look, on the side there, and there's now a games directory, which means that CoinRacer is now highly discoverable to the 30 million users that are on MetaMask. Any of them click on that game store, they're looking for a racing game, we are right there. So discoverability wise, that was definitely something that we were looking forward to, sort of from the marketing standpoint. Putting yourself places where people can just find your game is a very important thing from a gaming side. What we also did, though, of course, is having HyperPlay as our native launcher was really exciting for us as well. We were, one of the original games. We'd been live for a while. We had our own launcher on our website, and as soon as we onboarded to HyperPlay, we moved the launcher again of sending people to a verify to download their game. So our website is now completely focused on HyperPlay. Like, download on HyperPlay, word from us. So that was, something else that we did right away to, integrate with HyperPlay. So the impact is just, it's, an increased level of security, first of all, but then also an increased level of discoverability, and not just through MetaMask, but through all of the HyperPlay native audience that's going to HyperPlay Gaming. So, I know a number of games are running their own marketing campaigns and sending gamers there, and then, they're looking around for more games. So nice on both ends of both the tech stack and the marketing side, the discoverability.
Definitely two great points you highlighted there. The security, like I mentioned earlier, from the consumer side, it's great to know I can trust you. And then discoverability, there's tons of different games. And I'm going to share my screen now for anyone who hasn't seen either of these products, so that you can just see what it looks like. So I'll start sharing my screen here. Get it infinite, but this is the HyperPlay store for anyone who hasn't seen it. You can download it to your desktop to access it. You have a ton of different games here that they've audited, they've interviewed the developers for, and you can see that CoinRacer right here is accessible here. You can watch the kind of preview of it. You can play and install it. I already have it installed. So once you open that up, you can just get directly into playing. And if you haven't checked out the MetaMask integration, check it out here. So if you go to portfolio.metamask.io, you can access this games tab here that's kind of driven by HyperPlay. And you can see all those games here. And you can see that CoinRacer is here as well. So it's awesome. It's definitely great for discoverability for games.
Yeah, and just a side note on the MetaMask games directory, it actually shows you which games use the wallet within the game themselves. like CoinRacer does, in which games have just like a MetaMask compatible marketplace or something. And so those games that that adopt in-game transactions, we actually do algorithmic bonuses for those games and help to promote those, because we're trying to incentivize developers to more heavily adopt Web3 native technology, and the more they adopt it, we can drive more traffic to those users because they rank higher.
I love the idea of cross-promoting all these different games. I have tons of ideas on how you can do it. We've been experimenting on our side with like loot boxes where you can get assets from different games, discover something new, and then end up with an asset that you can play in a game with. So it'll be exciting to see how you're working with that. And now we've heard from CoinRacer about your particular experience, but I'm curious, have you seen a general trend for other games? What is the experience like, the feedback you've been receiving from the games that list on HyperPlay?
Yeah, there's a lot of really good feedback. So I'm a business advisor in this space, in addition to now being one of the co-owners of CoinRacer, who was one of my original clients back in 2021. And I'm actually an advisor of another game that is also listed on HyperPlay and absolutely just sings their praises just as much as CoinRacer does. It was not an experience unique to the CoinRacer team. HyperPlay is just absolutely crushing it across the board, and everyone agrees. Yeah, so there's a lot of, I'm also just friends with a lot of different games that have been listing on HyperPlay recently, which is just really good to see. And so far, yeah, all of the feedback that I've heard is very positive. And yeah, the trend is definitely, I believe, moving more so towards having a launcher that's high quality backing your product.
That's great to hear that all the consumers are having a great time, and also your friends, other game studios are saying this is a great idea. And yeah. I'm curious, Jacob, what have you been hearing from people that list?
Yeah, we get a lot of different feedback and a lot of different requests, and like our platform would not be half of what it is today if it wasn't for the feedback of the developer community. Almost every feature that we have today originated from the developer community. Like, so when I founded HyperPlay, we actually founded it originally inside of Game 7. So Game 7's this DAO and community that's and it's an ecosystem that is accelerating the adoption of Web3 native gaming, and that's helping to build better game worlds. And so Game 7 puts out an annual developer report where they interview over 100 different development studios and infrastructure projects each year. And the largest things that came out of that very first report were the foundations of a lot of how we built HyperPlay. And then we started building it. Like, we had gotten feedback about the wallet interactions were a major problem. And then, we started talking to the developers who were adopting our wallet tech, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, also we're being deplatformed, we're being censored, we're being bullied by these monopolies. We need another distribution channel. Because actually the original version of our app only aggregated the Epic Game Store and GOG. So we actually didn't even plan to have our own store originally. And then, so the store itself was the product of developer feedback. And then there was a lot of things about, man, I want to tell you another story about this, but I'm leaking too much alpha. So I'll just say that we work in a really tight feedback loop with our game developers. Almost everything that you see today is the product of that. I do think that there is still too much of a fear that people need to try to like, people are afraid to not be in Steam or in to a lesser extent the Epic Game Store. And so a lot of developers are still they're actually spending more time trying to hack around store policies and make like these weird band-aid solutions than they are building great games. And then people play the games that are the product of that environment caused by these monopolies, and they're like, oh, these aren't good games. And that's not our industry's fault for and I want to like be not apologetic about that. That was a situation created by monopolistic bullies who who decided to work with their media partners to spread the lie that players owning their in-game assets somehow harms them, and that this environment where your games are taken out of your Steam library even after you bought them, including like years later having your games taken from you, is somehow superior to player ownership. And so I'm very spicy towards the legacy monopoly world, and I am, I want to do everything that I can to help our developer community be empowered and overcome those obstacles. And I believe as we continue to grow and as we continue to have really powerful feedback loops with the player community as well, we will become an unquestionably vastly superior distribution source for Web3 game developers, and then for games in general. This isn't just going to be a Web3 product. We're going to beat Steam. We're going to win, and I'm not apologetic about that.
Love it, love it. Awesome. I like the confidence. It's interesting too what you brought up, and I think a lot of people who are not building a product or service don't realize is that a lot of times the things you're building and the reasons why they function a particular way is because of the limitations on you, right? And you're building a place where there are no limitations. You can get started right away. You can trust the people you're involved with. So it's awesome to see the path you're paving for everyone. So that brings us closer towards the end of our conversation. What's next for CoinRacer and then HyperPlay? What should everyone be excited to look out for? CoinRacer, I know you mentioned tournaments coming up. You mentioned kind of like Twisted Metal type of derby kind of game. So what should everyone look out for?
Yeah, well, the Twisted Metal Derby that one's actually live. You can go play that one today, download on HyperPlay. And yeah, but we have a ton more coming. Our development team is just rolling. We have another game mode that we are going to be launching. That one's going to be our junkyard race is coming up. We have a lot more that we're adding to the game as well. So we just fine-tuned our AI bots. They were very stupid and driving backwards, and now they no longer do that. They're quite formidable opponents now. So on the track, so those guys are launching in the game in our next update, which will be audited by HyperPlay, and just a lot of there's constantly development that we're rolling out. The windshield shattering, the tires flying off. We just did a damage update as well. You do take on damage when you get your cars. We're adding visuals. You're going to be able to get your own spoilers. We have cool new paint jobs that you can put on, paint splatters and racing stripes and all different things that you can do to make your car your own on the track. We all have more game modes coming, and then questing wise, we have tournaments coming up, and what we're building towards is an open world racing metaverse. So we dropped some screenshots recently within our community of things that you can, like ways you can kind of envision that. But you can actually kind of see it now within the game. When you go to do the track races, there's 2 tracks that you're going to be running on right now, which are our France and Canada tracks. And those eventually will be areas within the world. Yeah, and they're pretty cool. Like we have our designers are really fun, outside of the box people. So there's like a giant baguette in France. There's like, you're going to be going past 5-story wine bottles and, picnic baskets. And it's a really just, a fun world. And that is going to be an actually open world area that's coming soon. So we do have to build it out a little bit more, but what you're actually seeing is the iterative development building towards that open world racing metaverse. So that's what's coming. So yeah.
I want a baguette. I play as a giant baguette in Decentraland. I won a human-sized baguette in ice poker. It's like a no loss. It's like a no loss poker game where you just like win these NFTs through playing. It's kind of an inflationary poker model, and So I won like this character where I play as a baguette and I walk around Decentraland and chill as anyway.
Very cool.
You're gonna be the most famous person in the France part of a coin racer.
Yeah, we need to make that interoperable so that you can come and hang out as a baguette.
Bring your baguettes.
Yeah.
So for us, we have a very large launch coming in July that is going to have a lot of really, really cool things for users to do. I recommend getting HyperPlay installed, start playing games now, get ready for it, get all your games installed. I think that it's going to be really, really big for the player community. If you're a developer that wants to participate in a major launch, we're talking to a lot of developers about that right now as well. You would want to contact us as soon as possible. We've got a really, really special product launch that probably one of the biggest things we've ever launched. Come join our ecosystem.
Bigger than the leading Web3 store? That's insane. It's going to be super interesting to see what happens. It sounds like something's coming soon. So everyone check it out, start downloading games and get in there. And last but not least, how can everyone keep up with you both? How can you learn more about your game, your project? Where should everyone find you? Let's start with Melanie.
So that baguette track in France is actually, that's my track. My Web3 name is Croissant, and I am DeFi pastry on all platforms, Twitter, Telegram, Discord, that's how you find me, LinkedIn as well. And yeah, so it's pretty easy to remember. It's, DeFi as in decentralized finance pastry on all platforms. I'm also, I guess I should say, I'm also
the objectively best pastry.
Thank you. I agree.
Scientifically best. It's unquestionable that.
Yes. Well, it's a moon-shaped pastry. I originally came into the space and I just sort of thought, I just wanted to be a part of the culture. I didn't really intend on working here. That happened over time, but so I decided to keep my identity though, and moon-shaped pastry.
I feel like the pastry people are the most notable people within the Web3 space. There's a few out there.
There is, yeah.
So for me, it's jacobc.eth on X. You can also join our Discord, the HyperPlay Discord. You can find that on our website. Download HyperPlay at hyperplay.xyz. You can also follow our company, which is HyperPlay Gaming, on X as well. We're also joining Farcaster. We got an email list as well where you can follow all of our product updates, and we would love to have you in our community.
Actually, I would like to follow up on that. Jacob, you just did such a beautiful job sharing that and made me realize that I gave you my personal information and not our company information. So going back to CoinRacer, definitely go to coinracer.io is our website, and we are CoinRacer on all platforms. So at CoinRacer on Twitter, at CoinRacer on Telegram, to find our communities and Discord as well.
Awesome. And I also see in our chats for YouTube, someone says that they're excited to try CoinRacer. So look out, you're going to have a new player cruising around.
All right.
Well, I want to thank you both for everyone watching. Right after this, we'll list a POAP. You can scan the QR code, claim a POAP by following each one of our teams. You can learn more about our teams there. So thanks everyone for coming to the talk. And I want to thank you both for taking the time out of your day to join us in this conversation.
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you again.
Thanks. And I hope everyone has a great day. I'll see you later.
Bye-bye.